Like many collectors, I've been getting a lot of G.I. Joe Classified all at once. I'm so late in my reviews that I've decided I was going to do a green little army men and women review. So I've got a bunch of greens here. Hawk, Steeler, Short-Fuse, Cover Girl, and the House Striker. I'm going to review everything at once. They're all green. They're all fun characters. And I call them my little green army men and women. And I'm just going to look at everything. It's not going to be a full review since I've already used some of the parts. I've given them to other characters, so I don't even know which character owns what parts and so on. I'm just going to have fun and play with my toys. This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin. Fill you in since 2002. Like and subscribe. So these are my green Joes. First one is Cover Girl, the Sunbow version, Steeler, the Tank Commander, Short-Fuse, Hawk, or Colonel Hawk before he became a general. Here we've got Hawk's MSS missile system, the original one in the toy and the comics and the cartoon. The other version that we already got was used by Cobra. And finally, the House Striker with Crankcase, a couple of kitbash, and a couple of older Joes here. Now there's a lot to review, but I think having all my green guys is cool. The reason I've got Clutch and his vamp is because General Hawk is probably gonna inhabit that Jeep, unless maybe Cover Girl, this version of Cover Girl, one of them would be fine. But if this thing, the vamp, is gonna be hauling the M.M.S. missile system, then maybe General Hawk needs to be a part of that vamp, the co-driver. It could also go with the House Striker, but I feel like it's better with the vamp. This one, the House Striker, is a dune buggy, and it should probably be faster, even though it can carry something heavier. Let's look at the figures. There's a lot of stuff to look at. Now I like the green guys in the Joes, what we call the original 13. Obviously, these are not exactly all the original 13. First of all, well, you know, Cover Girl is not an original 13. She came in the 1983 version, and she's the driver of the Wolverine tank. Now the Wolverine tank, we may not have it anytime soon, I don't know. The version of Cover Girl that we had in the comics and in the toys is this version. Some people didn't like this version, so they made this one. I was always hoping that they would make the blonde version first, but then they made both of them. They don't really look like one another. This one looks like Joan Rivers, and this one looks like the supermodel that Cover Girl is supposed to be. I'm glad I've got two of them. I'm just gonna have an extra girl. Let's try to change some heads here. I don't know if the extra head that came with Cover Girl is compatible with the other version of Cover Girl, so we'll just do a test here. Just gonna remove this. Well, it's kind of difficult for me to remove the neck, as you can see. So I think this neck wants to stay on. But let's see, would she look good? I guess she would. But I'm having a problem with the neck, as you can see. So I should probably put her back the way I found her. Okay. Got it. Some people also had problem with the arms of this Cover Girl falling off. I've never had this problem. They were always very sturdy. What was reused in the two versions of CoverGirls? Well, the chest, it seems, has been reused. What about the arms? The arms seem different. They're not the same. The pants are different too, and the belt. And obviously part of the equipment is the same. The hammer here, or the screwdriver I should say, or the wrench, it's a wrench. The wrench is the same. And that's about it. Now this is not the machine gun that came with CoverGirl originally. With this one, I gave her someone else's. It's a Uzi. I think she came with this weapon. She came with this weapon over here, except there was some silver on it. I don't know where that weapon went. I probably gave it to someone else. So this is my version. Well, the new CoverGirl is going to look different from the other one. Different weapon, everything else. I'm just going to create a new character. She's not going to be called CoverGirl. She's going to be someone else. Or maybe I'll call this character Joan Rivers. Next, Steeler. I like Steeler. The one thing I don't like about this figure is that it doesn't come with a Mobat tank. I think that's a drawback. Steeler belongs with a tank. Unfortunately, we don't know when Hasbro is going to release a tank. I don't know. Perhaps if we get a Mauler, maybe we'll get a different version of Steeler as a tank commander, as well as with heavy metal. A few things I wanted to show about CoverGirl I forgot. Or the Super 7 version of CoverGirl. Ooh, really looks like this CoverGirl. I call her the Canadian CoverGirl. Why? Because she looks like a Canadian in salt pork. That's why. So I call her the Canadian CoverGirl. Okay. And the classified version of the blonde CoverGirl here. You can also switch her head with the head without the hat. Well, the hat, you can remove both hair piece. Okay, good. So this is without the hair piece. Now I did try some other compatible, well, what I thought would be compatible heads, and they were not compatible with CoverGirl. And that's good to know. I tried a Black Widow head. Tried a Baroness, the first Baroness, the one that came with the motorcycle. Tried an Eternal head. And I was trying to play with the Marine, but I couldn't quite figure it out, so the Marine doesn't work either. And unfortunately, all the hair pieces, they're not compatible, so you can't just change the wig, the hair piece, or the hat. I wish G.I. Joe would make them standard, that you could switch the hair of every woman, but obviously they don't want us to have that much fun unless we customize like crazy. So this is what you could do with your CoverGirl. not much you can do in terms of kit bashing from the basic parts that they give you. And yes, I'm putting everything back in Ziploc bags. I've got so many parts over here that if I don't do it right now, I'm gonna start losing them all over the place. There's a bunch of parts I don't even know who they belong to, and as you saw, I don't even know whose Uzi she's using. And I believe she probably has a second hammer. I don't know where it went already. I've got this on my kitchen dinner table, bunch of parts. I'm trying to clean them up. I don't know what belongs to what anymore. Tons of Ziploc bags and loose parts all over the place. The joy of collecting. So Steeler, back to him, comes with a Uzi and also with a silencer, I believe, a knife, and this other machine gun, and obviously revolver, pistol that goes here. This thing bugs me because it keeps rotating all the time. It's a bit annoying. He comes with a shovel also, but you can't put the shovel anywhere on his body. You can remove the helmet if you want. So this is Steeler. Steeler is not the kind of character that was ever released without his vehicle. I don't even believe that they've got many versions of Steeler around. I believe they're probably the 1982 version and the 1.5 version of him. And I believe that's probably it for Steeler. I don't think he was released that often as a toy. So unfortunately, we don't have a tank with him. Now, Short-Fuze is a character that I like. I don't know why I've always liked him. The glasses were a pain to put on, so I'm not going to remove the helmet just yet. There's this metal rack here where you can put his mortar. Came with weapons. I believe he's got more weapons hidden on himself. The knife sheath here falls off easily. I wish it was a bit higher on him, maybe here as opposed to just there. It will fall easily. A lot of his body reuses the Stalker Grunt body, like the upper body. This is all Stalker and Grunt, this chest. The legs, I couldn't tell you. I haven't checked them. Well, I'll check them in a few seconds, I guess. Because I've got, well, this is Steeler's mortar. There's only one ammo. I don't know why they did that. I don't know. It's cheap. Should have given us more ammo. They only gave us one. If he were in combat, he would have more than that. Now this goes easily on his harness on the rack. It looks like the real deal. But I've got a second Short-Fuze, I've reviewed this elsewhere in a different video. This is a rack I bought from one of those Japanese companies, and I was trying to kitbash my own Short-Fuze. Now this rack is extremely fragile, but it's much more accurate than anything we've got here. And this is my kitbash of Steeler. Now, I don't mind having a second character that looks like Steeler here. Why? Because mortar soldiers don't act alone. They usually have a spotter and someone that, well, Steeler would be the guy putting in the ammo and shooting it. Actually, not putting it. He would be the one aiming and shooting. There's usually like a three of them working together. There's one that puts the ammo and hides, someone else who shoots, and another person. So it's usually something that they do with about 3 crews. So having other crews here helping Steeler, not a problem at all. This was my version of Steeler. He came with the usual G.I. Joe weapons, as you can see. He was made from a grunt body. And that's where I'm going to be comparing to see how much he looks like, how much the new Steeler reuses. So let's see. It seems that the legs are almost completely the same, the arms, everything's the same. Steeler is really Grunt and Stalker's body, and my version of Steeler was very close to this one, even down with the glasses here. I don't remember whose glasses they were, but I gave him glasses. And so the head is Kamakura, reddish as opposed to blonde here, but the body is exactly the same. And I'm very glad that my version of Short-Fuze really looks like the real deal. The only difference is that he had a regular backpack, a few more weapons, including the classic Joe weapon. I gave him some shoulder guards here to protect himself from the blast, but essentially I wasn't too far off with my version. So this guy is going to be his spotter. I guess he's going to be called Spotter from now on, and this is going to be Short-Fuze. Well, maybe not spotter, but something else. Now, the mortar that Steeler comes with is this one. You can remove this easily, and there's a ball joint here, so that's cool. You can bend this. It's much less complex than this thing and much more solid. This one is accurate. This one is less accurate, but more solid. And luckily, if I want more ammo, I could always use these guys. I've got more of those. They don't quite work. Yeah. Okay. They're not compatible, so I can't reuse them. But I do have more of those like this somewhere in this. Something else that came with this, with the Japanese set, is the spotter. I think they use this to calculate where to shoot the ammo, and it comes with tripods. You just put it somewhere like that, and you use it in conjunction with this, and you just crunch the numbers. It would have been fun for G.I. Joe to give us something like that, but they did not. So this guy is very fragile. Yes, very fragile. It keeps breaking. So I'm not to be replacing it with something else that's more solid. And I've got a spotter for Short-Fuze. Now Hawk. Colonel Hawk, the original leader of G.I. Joe. He came with several weapons too, like all the other guys. I know I haven't given them everything. I think some of it is here. Yeah, some of it is with clutch. I don't want to play too much with that. Joe Hawk. Younger version of the older one. So I don't want to retire the older Hawk. I want to keep both characters. So I've decided in my new headcanon that the two Hawks will exist in the same universe. Except this one will be his father, the real general. And this guy will be his son, Colonel Hawk. General Hawk and Colonel Hawk. This is going to be the father, and this is going to be the son. You do know that Lieutenant Falcon was supposed to be General Hawk. They changed that to make him Duke's brother. So, in a sense, I'm bringing back the idea that Hawk has a son who is part of G.I. Joe, who may be a screw-up sometimes. In this case, he's the field leader of G.I. Joe when Hawk is not there. So I'm keeping the general, and I'm also keeping the colonel. And maybe even the colonel will die, and that's when the father will come and take over G.I. Joe. The father was always in the background taking care of the Joes, while his son ran the shot. So when General Flag was killed, maybe Colonel Hawk was also killed at the same time. And that's why General Hawk came back and decided, okay, I'm not going to let my son run G.I. Joe anymore. I'm just going to take over myself and carry on with the mission that he was supposed to do. Yeah, that's my new headcanon for Colonel and General Hawk. Or maybe he'll be just hurt very much, so I can still use him somehow. Obviously, the Colonel comes with the MSS. I'm going to put this General elsewhere. And let's look at the MSS. Or HMS, I don't know what they're called anymore. If you've got the other one, the one that came with Cobra, you know how this thing works. The tires are the same as the Vamp. They work pretty well. You can rotate. Oops, you guys can see me rotate, obviously. Let's rotate this in view. Let's just pull this in. There's not much space, right? As you can see, my desk is pretty limited. But what I can do, so you can rotate the missile full 360. There's 3 of them. You can haul this thing with the Vamp or even the All Striker. I like this set, even though I've got the Cobra version. The Cobra version did not sell out at Hasbro. They still have some for sale, unfortunately. Well, you can put trying to get one of the missiles off the rack. Okay, good. These things can be very fragile. So you can put the smoke effect like this, but you can't put the effect like on the rack itself. Okay. The problem with this, everybody knows, is that the smoke should be on the other side, but Hasbro won't change it. They just want to reuse this. They could recolor this thing easily and just fix the problem, but they won't. So there's a big one and a small one, and I'll just use the same missile, so I don't have to redo it again. This is the smaller one. So it's kind of useless to have this if you can't stack it on a rack directly. There's no pin here. There's no peg holes here for you to put it on a rack, unfortunately. And obviously you have to be careful not to break this thing. So you push it down, good, solid. Blast effects that we've seen several times. They first came with scrap iron and is set, and we've seen them many times over since. They're great for dioramas, but if you have one of them, I've got some already still in bags. I don't know why I even opened this bag, but I've got a lot of those guys somewhere. They're nice. They look like anime cartoon. This is for the exhaust. Obviously, the MMS or HMS has this little panel here. I'm going to show you if I can move it in camera. Good. Let's move this out of the way. And Hawk can program everything here, and then he has to put back the cover here. Now the original missile system had a remote control thing with a small cord, so he could control it about let's say a feet away. But obviously as this thing shoots, it's very dangerous, so you should be very careful with that. Now this guy goes with one of those, with either the vamp or the Owl Striker. And that's what I wanted to show. That's why I brought everything over here. I'm gonna put back old Short-Fuze elsewhere. So let's look at now the MSS. Done the MSS, the Owl Striker. This is the Owl Striker. I like it a lot. Okay, I'm not gonna reassemble this thing. This thing is a lot of work to assemble. It's not very sturdy. See, parts are already like not even pegged in anymore. I'm using my extra, if I'm not mistaken, that would be my version 1 breaker's head, which I've put in a mask, and I've put on one of those, I've put it on the Snake Eyes body that came with Timber, the gray version of Timber, which the body is Beachheads, if I'm not mistaken. And here I've got the retro version of Snake Eyes, which I bought at Walmart because it was just on the pegs, and I've changed the head for heavy duty. And I've put a bunch of their backpacks all over the place. This thing is packed. Even a gun here, shotgun, not a shotgun, rifle to aim. One of them will use this, probably this guy. I like this. I like this thing. It's beautiful. It's bigger than I thought it would be. It's about the same size as the Vamp to some extent. And configuring this thing properly takes a lot of work. It's a mess. Playing with this thing is a mess, but that's what G.I. Joe is about. And if you like playing with your toys, that's what you do. So like I mentioned, this guy, I believe, would be Breaker version 1. The one that came with the motorcycle. This is Crankcase. And this is my extra heavy duty head, which is being used here nicely. And this thing keeps on pegging. Everybody's having a problem with these guys, with this thing. Some people say it's cheap. I don't think it's cheap. I think it's just they didn't do enough testing to make sure that it was sturdy. Especially given that this year 2 other companies, smaller companies, came out with alternatives to the All Striker. You would think that Hasbro did not know that other companies would come out with similar product, and they were all released at about the same time. So it's very easy to compare and criticize Hasbro for a product that could be better when you've got offerings from other companies which seem a bit better. I do know that this thing was made, well, it's supposed to last a bit longer than the 3D printing, but I don't know about the Asian company's product. This is my other house striker. Oops. This one came out a few years ago, in 22 perhaps, or 21, when Hasbro was still trying to make 1/18 version of G.I. Joe stuff. So they made this guy. I didn't have the old House Striker as a kid. This is the only House Striker I had, but this one is a pure replica of the original. Okay, so I'm glad that I've got this small version and the bigger version to compare. It's always fun to have those when you can. It's like you have the dad and the son. If you compare, I would say this one is much cooler looking, except stupid thing keeps on pegging every second, and that's really annoying. It's not sturdy at all, and that's why I don't want to remove anything from this guy. Too fragile, it's just gonna fall over and break, and I don't want that. I don't have time for that. I like my stuff to stay. But you've probably seen other reviews and you probably already have this thing in hand. So some people don't like the fact that the tires are not the same size. I think it's okay. There's a lot of details in this thing, and I did, if I'm not mistaken, I managed to put my extra coffee cup that came with my police officer in there. Yep, it's in there. I don't know if you can see it. So now I've got the coffee cup, 2 coffee cups, one for each of them. What I like is that I'm using the Snake Eyes bodies, okay? And so this one is a Snake Eyes body with the first breaker's head, and this one is using the heavy duty head, which is a bit bigger, but it still fits. Anyways, covered with stuff. You can barely see who he is for real, and so there's no way to confuse him with the real thing here, the real heavy duty here. This is the real heavy duty, and this is someone that kind of looks like him, that could be dead soon or something like that. And this missile is not the same, I believe. Is it? Nope, they're not the same. I thought they were going to be reusing this thing for Short-Fuze. They are not. This is really for a bazooka, and this is for a mortar. So they're not reusing them. That's interesting. I forgot to mention that both Steeler and Short-Fuze come with shooting effects. Just gonna go get them. Now I didn't remove them from the rack yet, from the tray. We've seen those before. Okay. All of these things, we've seen them with the Viper 3-pack for the first time. And I believe they've used them for the Valkyries and a few other characters. We see these effects often. And so those are the same effects that you could use for your mortar soldier. If I'm not mistaken, you could even mimic the mortar working for real. Or something like that. Oops. Perhaps if you put this here. And then the rest in here. You could have a mortar shooting up if you want. So we've seen those effects before. This is a super long review. I don't usually make reviews this long, but I wanted to review a bunch of green guys, so I've done that. I'm extremely late in all my reviews. Very, very busy time of the year for me right now. I don't have as much time as I used to. A lot of assignment at work. So these are my green guys. They're not the original 13. Well, CoverGirl is not an original 13, but she's part of the team. And yeah. So I like what I've got. Now one of my problems is finding a place to put all of this stuff. And I still am kit bashing. So this is not a full review because they're missing parts, right? Each of them have, all the parts are on a table. And I'm mixing and matching parts, kit bashing basically parts. What part would go better with this guy or so on. So I don't have everything exactly in place the way it should be. So they may not come with all the weapons that they're supposed to have. So if you look at them and you see he's missing something, he doesn't have exactly, this is not the weapon he came with. For example, there should be some kind of holster for Hawk to put his weapon in the back. It's not there. you know, I'm playing with stuff. Here I've got a bunch of backpacks and stuff. I'm playing with all this stuff, so it's not necessarily, I'm not following quote unquote rules on how to play with my G.I. Joe, and neither should you. These are action figures, you're supposed to play with them. So it doesn't matter if I'm not using them exactly the way that Hasbro intended. Actually, Hasbro doesn't care at this point. They just want me to buy this thing and search for more space to put more of this stuff, even though I'm running out of space right now. Anyway, this is me playing with my green characters, my green guys and girl. And yeah, I'm having fun here. So this is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling you in since 2002. Yes, I've been running the Comic Book Bin website since 2002, if you guys can believe this. It's probably one of the oldest comic book related website around. Like and subscribe, and see you some other time. Bye.